Welcome in. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's the beginning of the week, and we look forward to a very exciting week. Not a lot of basketball on the women's side this week, but lots to talk about with the men's basketball and Fastest 40. Arkansas is going to be taking on number 3 Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville, and yet another tough road test, real tough road test. And I want to bring in my producer, co-host, Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius, how's everything going, my man?
Man, I can't complain. Glad we got to see a new week, so I'm just
excited. Well, it came out Saturday. Arkansas, lost another home game, tough one. There's the fourth home loss out of the 5. Arkansas dropped a 94-88 overtime decision with versus the LSU Tigers, and this is just a basketball team, I think, right now, Demetrius, that's going through, as my favorite word, the maturation process. It's a process that's not very fun. It's hard to watch your favorite team go through these types of growing pains. When you're close, but still yet so far away with just some of the things, inopportune turnovers, missed free throws at crucial moments. But this basketball team, I still feel good about. I think Coach Anderson and that staff have a really good thing, but it's going to be a process. This is not going to be a situation where they're going to get it right and be an Elite 8, possibly Final Four team, but they're going to be a good team, a good group, a good senior class, this will be a good team over the years. These fans will be proud to watch, and I'll enjoy covering. That's just me personally. I really like the grind that these young men. I think this is one of the better defensive teams that I've seen under Coach Mike Anderson here at Arkansas. Demetrius, what do you think when you look at this team? 19 points from being a 15-0 ball club, and it just comes down to the little things. Free throws seem to be the Achilles heel for this ball club up to this point.
Definitely, the best thing I can say is really just go back to the basics. I think these guys need to go back to fundamental basketball and kind of get to doing some of the things they were doing earlier in the season. I think these guys are starting to feel a little pressure, but I think they just need to relax and just go back to playing basketball.
Well, we're going to step away. We caught up with a couple of, players from the LSU-Arkansas game. We're going to open up, I believe, Demetrius has audio from sophomore center Daniel Gafford. We talked about just what it meant, the feeling of a disappointing loss. And we're going to let you hear what Daniel say. We'll be playing a lot of post-game from the LSU game, and also we'll give you tidbits and audio from yesterday's women's game from senior guards Malika Monk and Raven Northcross Baker. But caught up with Daniel Saturday night, and here's what he had to say post LSU.
32 previous high, 27 versus Indiana this year. So with that, open up for questions.
Yeah, it was another great comeback by you guys like you had the other night, but ultimately it's a loss. How tough is that to have these big comebacks and then you just fall short in the end?
It's tough. To go out and play your tail off for 40 minutes and then to come out and have to play extra 5 minutes for overtime. To have a loss like that, and it's one that's going to hurt us really bad. Like Coach said, it's going to hurt till midnight. But games go either way. So hopefully the next game we come out on top.
Did they talk before this game just to really concerted effort to get you the ball?
It's always, a big factor of me, getting the ball every time I touch it. The coach says every time I touch it, good things happen. Every time I touch it, I try to make, the best play. I try to score it, or I try to either get it out to a shooter. You know, most of the time tonight I scored, but I mean, it's been one of the big keys. It's been one of the big focuses, you know, in practices and stuff, and it's just, you know, it led to the game. So the sad thing is, we just didn't come out on top tonight.
Daniel, Reed, obviously a great player, hit 4 out of 4 threes. Did that surprise you, his range and just the threes? You know, they hit 7 more threes than you guys. How big were the 3-pointers? And that's how they got the lead in overtime, too.
The 3-pointers that he hit, those were big threes. Those were some real big plays. He came down and he took his time and he knocked them down because, I mean, we left him wide open. And that's just, you know, that's just our fault right there. Because, I mean, we got to rotate on him, especially off the ball screen. But, I mean, he came down, he took his time and knocked him down. And that's what hurt us in overtime. Because he came down, I think they hit like 2 back-to-back threes. It's just some stuff that we need to fix.
Hey, Daniel, can you speak about the play of Reggie Chaney? I thought maybe his best game since he's been at Arkansas. Y'all really look comfortable out there together in the high-low and then working together down low.
I mean, one thing I was telling Reggie and basically all the other guys that were coming off the bench behind him, I was telling them that, you know, when he touched the ball, they sagged off of him. And I mean, they left the lane wide open for him. So I just told him, whenever he touched the ball, just go straight towards the basket. Either get fouled, get in one, or just score the basket. And what he did tonight, he did some really big things for us. He rebounded for us, he blocked shots for us. I mean, he came out and even guarded Tremont for us. I mean, he kept him contained for a couple of possessions. I mean, it's just, you know, he has his time. And I'm pretty sure he's going to have his times throughout the season.
You know, Daniel, Arkansas's always been a good home team. This is 4 losses here in Fayetteville. Now, how tough is that, and how surprising is that? And what do you think you guys got to do to kind of lock down home again?
I would say the main thing we got to do lock down home, play defense. Another thing is to hit free throws. For instance, I mean, I missed 2 big free throws today. We got to make sure we hit free throws, especially on home court, because that's what we got to protect the play. They can't just come in bud and just do whatever they want to. It's not called one of the hardest places to play in for nothing. So we just got to make sure we play defense, keep guys out of the paint, and don't let them do what they want to do and hit free throws. Those have been the only things that's been taking us out the last couple of games at home.
Daniel, to play a player like Naz Reid, how much extra motivation does that give you?
He gave me a lot of motivation. I mean, they said he was a great player. I mean, they said he was a potential one-and-done player. So, I mean, I had to come out and I had to, you know, play up on his level because, I mean, he was playing at a whole other different level tonight. So I had to, you know, go to that same level. I mean, I could, you know, like lately I've been getting, you know, dominated by bigs and been coming in here, and I just didn't want that to happen tonight.
Welcome back. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, brought to you each and every day here live on KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And that was Daniel Gafford, sophomore center at the University of Arkansas. Had a monster game on Saturday. Unfortunately, Hall came up a little short, but Daniel, 32 points, very efficient. But, you know, it's one of those things, you know, there was another team involved in that, and Will Wade has had quite a bit of success in his first 3 games versus Arkansas. 2-0 here in Bud Walton. And we caught up with Will and freshman forward Najee Reed. And here's what they had to say about their big win in Bud Walton Arena this Saturday night.
Come on, Trey. Huh? Yeah, get your jersey. Go hurry up. Hurry up. Get your jersey.
You can go ahead and start, Coach. I'll get it up there.
All right. Obviously, tough road win. Thought our guys responded well in overtime. I was worried with the foul trouble and the way it got to overtime. But Arkansas did a great job. They did the same thing they did in the Florida game. They got down and they turned up the heat, and they came back and we lost our composure a little bit, but we were able to regain it in overtime. So I was really proud of our guys. This is a very, very tough place to play. And, good win for us. You know, bringing 6 new guys on the road for their first SEC game. So. Really proud of our guys. I thought Nas played great. I thought Tremont did a good job distributing the ball. I thought Marlon Taylor was huge for us. And, you know, we just fortunately made a few more plays. Gafford was a man down there and did a tremendous job. And we didn't have many answers for him, but we got to stop on him late. And that ultimately was the difference in the game.
I guess for both players, what was the key? Because Arkansas made a big run back. They seemed to have the momentum in overtime. They took the lead, and you guys got it back. But what was the key to taking over in overtime?
Coach in practice telling us to stay together. Without that, I mean, I don't know if we had. I mean, I have confidence in this, but I don't know if we could have done that as well as we did.
I would say just coming together. Obviously, the crowd got like really into the game, so and guys on our team were against the refs at some points and just crying about fouls and stuff like that. But as a team, as a whole, the five that were on the court, we pretty much just came back together and just stayed glued, and that was the key to us.
As you had that dunk and then like a second later the guy ref teed you up, did you say something or what happened on that technical?
Oh, the ball came to me and as I was running, I just kind of like swiped it out my way. I wasn't really intentionally throwing it, but stuff like that happens. You just gotta keep playing.
Now, so you feel you kind of surprised them with the 3-pointers? That maybe you seemed like you were wide open on some of those.
I mean, if that was the game plan, I guess they read me wrong. But I mean, just keep working in the gym. That's what made me convert those. So.
Well, it was a pretty big difference in 3-pointers today. You guys and their guys. What was your take on the impact of the 3 today?
Well, we came in. I mean, obviously Joe and Jones are just lethal 3-point shooters, but we let Jones just drive it all over us today, and we fouled him. I don't know how many times we took a foul. He's the best. And so we wanted to run those guys off the 3. And we ultimately tested our theory. We didn't think they could win. We could lose 2 by 2, and I didn't intend on giving Gafford quite as many easy looks as we gave him. But we felt like if we could get it into keep Arkansas at the 3-point line, we'd have a good chance. And that's what ultimately happened.
Welcome back. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. We brought you a little audio from head coach Will Wade, freshman forward Najee Reed, and sophomore point guard Tremont Waters. Those two guys, Demetrius, had tremendous games. Najee Reed had 27 points. Tremont Waters, the point guard, I thought controlled the basketball game in Bud Walton Saturday. For the most part, 15 points, I believe 17 assists. This is a young man that I think if he can continue to play at that level that I saw in Bud Walton on Saturday, the LSU Tigers are going to have a chance to make a lot of waves in the SEC. The thing that I feel with Arkansas and what really was a big deciding factor was the guard play. Their guards, 32, Arkansas's guard tandem, 12. You just can't have that disparity, Demetrius, when you in a game where they're of equal talent. It comes down to experience guard play, and I thought the more physical, more experienced side was the LSU guards Saturday. And, I mean, when that happens, what are the chances when Arkansas's guards don't play up to what they're capable of? And I didn't think they played up to their capability on Saturday. I thought both Jalen Harris and Isaiah Joe were off. But that's to be expected. I mean, these are still yet young kids. I just didn't think that they played up to their potential. But how important is it, Demetrius, for a young basketball team with these two guys you need going forward to kind of get themselves back into the flow of things and get on a pretty good run?
It's huge, and I don't really think these guys need to change anything, but I think they just need to change their mentality as far as how they're approaching their preparation for these games. I know we're getting back into school. School just opened up. It's the first day of class for the spring semester at the University of Arkansas. So I think with that, getting back to what we were talking about last week about the structure and the way the free time that these guys have been having leading up to the spring semester, I think it's really going to get him back in the rotation. And not only that, just being in the setting to where he can go get some shots up when he feels like it. I think once you get into a routine, especially as a shooter, it definitely helps.
4 home losses. This is something that I think is very uncharted territory during the Mike Anderson era. 4 home losses so early in this season, 2 in the non-conference, now 2 in the conference. But the slimmest of margins. I know you look at the 4 losses, and for this fan base, losing in Bud Walton is almost like the sky falling, each and every day. You just don't see it very often. Or I should say, like Alabama getting beat in football. Those things happen, few and far between. But it's a process. You have a young basketball team, and I think these kids are learning the importance of protecting the home floor. I think going forward, I think it's going to be a big plus to have, assistant Scotty Thurman and TJ Cleveland. Both of those guys played here. They understand the importance of representing Bud Walton Arena and being able to really protect the home court, because they can, as coaches and former players, Demetrius, don't you think when you have guys like that, they can really feel what the fans feel and kind of relate it to this version, this very young basketball team, and the importance and how, like I say, how very important it is to not lose games in the bud going forward.
Definitely is huge. Especially having the basketball tradition and the winning heritage of the basketball program. So I think it's crucial, especially getting those home games in, because most games or most seasons are determined by your home record. So it's really crucial that Arkansas kind of gets back into that rhythm. I was speaking about it last week as far as getting the fan base back on your team. It's good that guys are starting to come back out and attending the games, but you want to keep them there. The way to fill the seats is to win, and these guys need to kind of string together some wins, so this year doesn't kind of go downhill.
Well, I feel like this is going to be a real important stretch. You're at Tennessee tomorrow, and then you go on the road again this Saturday at Oxford. Two teams that I feel are playing really, really good basketball, and ironically, two teams that will be coming off 9 and 10 game winning streaks. Both teams in the top 25 as Ole Miss comes in, I believe, at number 18 this week. A very surprising team when you look at Ole Miss. Now, not so much Tennessee. We expected this from the Tennessee Volunteers. If you saw that team that was a few years ago coming in with Williams, the freshman, Schofield, sophomore, that team was a team. And then you had Alexander also. He comes in as a freshman. They went through a lot of the bumps, the peaks and valleys, I think, that Arkansas and Coach Anderson and this ball club is going through. And I feel like, when you go up against this Tennessee team tomorrow, it's going to be about toughness. It's going to be about grit. It's going to be about defending at a very high level, to the degree that I don't think Arkansas has had to defend all season long. Arkansas, I think, as a basketball team, is going to have to accept the toughness. And I'm not questioning that. I think they have to get a little more physical and accept the challenges, because in the SEC conference play, these teams are going to beat up on you in the paint. The guards are going to get physical with you, and officials will let that type of play go on, because that's just the mantra of this league. It's a very physical league, and I think Arkansas is going to have to match it. But we caught up with Coach Anderson following the LSU ball game, and Coach shared a few thoughts on why Arkansas came away with another disappointing home loss, as I said, the fourth one. But we'll let you hear what Coach A had to say.
Obviously, a disappointing locker room right there. Our guys, they spilled their guts and hard on that floor, and trying to find a way to win. And just still the little things that we got to do to finish off the game against a very talented LSU team. And give them credit, I think. The Nas Reed kid, that's probably his best game as well. That is the Taylor kid. Those some guys we hadn't played before, but they stepped up and made some big plays for them. Of course, Tremont's going to do his, and Skyler. But I thought the second half was totally different than it was the first half. I thought it was much to our advantage. Let's give them credit. They made plays when they had to, made free throws when they had to. But it wasn't because of the lack of effort. I was disappointed in the outcome of the game, but I was not discouraged because of the effort. I thought we got better, much better team. That's probably one of our better half of the second half. Got it in overtime, and we've had some overtime games. We lost one to Texas, I think, 1-1 or something like that. But we talked about the game's going to come down to the little things. It came down to the little things again. I think the little things are execution, offensively and defensively. But again, let's give LSU a lot of credit. They make some big plays.
Mike, it's the second time you had a double-digit deficit at home, came back and couldn't quite close it out. How disappointing is that?
Well, right there before the half, they had a big shot right there before the half. I thought we had to do a good job of defending, and somehow Tremont got it and kicked it out, and the guy makes a shot. And then, of course, in the second half, I don't know where it went down, but we know that the game is 40 minutes, not 20 minutes or 23 minutes, 30, whatever it is. We knew there was time on the clock, 33 minutes or what have you. And I thought our defense dug in and we started making plays. We kind of got after them, created some turnovers, got stops. I think we got stops. I thought early on in the game it was like going back and forth. And they scored a bit more than we did. So, but we were able to have a much better second half, I thought. They got some key offensive rebounds. And of course, those are the little things I talked about. There were some opportunities for us to execute. You know, I think it was tied up 77. I think we ended up having a turnover. We had a chance to get a lead and had the crowd into it. I thought that was some momentum time. But again, let's give them credit.
Was there a more concerted effort to get Gafford the ball, or was it just the flow of the game?
No, they had no answer for it. It just like the last few games we've had. We started off and getting people in foul trouble. And so our guys, I thought they did a much better job of really finding him on time, and he did a good job of finishing, and I thought he positioned himself closer to the basket. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that it was inside out today.
Was Reed
It's our Monday edition. We come to you each every day here on 479 KDSJ. And that was Coach Anderson, post-game audio from the LSU 94-88 home loss on Saturday night in Bud Walton Arena. Arkansas falls to 1-2, 10-5 on the year. All is not lost. All sickness is not death. This basketball team is going through growing pains. As tough as it is, fans, it is what it is. This basketball team is going through growing pains, and you can think I'm coming up with a homer opinion, but that's my opinion. We can all agree to disagree. I think the job that this staff has done to this point, you know, it's about as good as you can do. I think this team still is learning how to play together. Where will Reggie want the ball in the paint? Where does Keyshawn, when he's coming off the screen, like the ball? All these things, they're still figuring one another out, and that's going to take a while. That's going to take more than, I think, 31 ball games, don't you think, Demetrius, for this team to really get the chemistry, because the IQ, the hustle, and the ability to play the game of basketball at a high level, you can clearly see that this team has all those aspects within themselves.
Definitely. As far as the guard play, you know, that was something that I figured would be a little issue as far as physicality. You know, anytime you're adjusting, you're a senior in high school and a freshman in college. Those are two totally different type of bodies,
right.
And the type of bodies that you're going to play on a night in, night out basis. So I think that's another adjustment that they're getting used to playing is, you mentioned it a lot last week, just playing at a high level consistently. You know, in high school, you were able to take those kind of games off and were able to have those bad nights where you didn't have to play to the top of your ability and you knew you were still going to come out with a win.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that this team is really having to adjust to, because if you look at it, all these losses that they've taken, they've been in the position to win.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is I think they tried to cut the switch on too late.
Right.
A lot of these have been big second half comebacks that they were in the game, but I just felt because they had such a deficit to kind of overcome, that they used all their energy trying to catch back up instead of coming out with a consistent flow. So again, I just think these guys really just have to understand how to mentally get ready for a game instead of waiting till halftime to get focused and dialed into what Mike Anderson is wanting these guys to do to execute plays.
And another thing I've said over the weekend since Saturday's ball game, and I've played over and over, I think Isaiah Joe, the Mason Joneses, the Jalen Harrises, maybe playing the Adriel Baileys, maybe playing a few more minutes than what they're capable of playing. I think the rotation with getting Keyshawn, getting more minutes for Desi Seals, Gabe Osaborn, Reggie Chaney, those four guys are going to be integral parts going forward. So you're going to need that 9-man rotation. You're going to have that 9-man rotation very strong with guys in shape. And I think, when you play those 5 guys, Adriel, Daniel, Isaiah, Jalen, and Mason, so many minutes, it looked to be over the last couple of games that these kids may have, hit a wall, a little fatigue. Now these are still 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old young bucks. So, they're going to be able to regroup. But I think the rotation and being able to add more bodies and more playing time to those 4 individuals will help this team going forward, because it's all about confidence. And I think the more you play, the more you learn as a young freshman. And this team is going to have more minutes from those guys to learn, to be able to, in situations, crucial free throws. Crucial. Arkansas in 5 losses have missed 42 free throws. They're shooting 59%. And when you look at these games and you really start to pull back all the layers and you put the magnifying glass truly over it, it comes back to just crucial missed free throws. The free throw line for this team has been its nemesis and its reason for the 5 losses, in my humble opinion. But I do think that, it's become mental. I can see sometimes the guys are shooting free throws and they're not following through. It's like they're kind of pulling the string by not trying to miss and shoot that perfect free throw. And when you do that, you're only going to miss. So, more and more things have to take place, but they're going to put in the work. This is a basketball team that I think will get better, as all of Coach Anderson and that staff of all clubs do as the season progresses on. They do show marked improvement, and I think this team will do, no worse. But we caught up today with Coach Mike Anderson, and Coach talked about once again the LSU game, but went off into detail to preview for us tomorrow night's SEC Network. Big Tuesday. They're on Big Tuesday, the ball game in Knoxville. And here's what Coach Anderson told us today in our media availability.
Everybody good to go? Coach, you start off?
Very quick turnaround for our basketball team. This is our first Big Tuesday game, and playing against one of the better teams in the country. I think they're playing as good as anyone in the country right now. They have a great non-conference schedule. I think they lost overtime to Kansas. And of course, we're returning with Grant Williams, who played in the year in our league last year, as well as the guys playing really well, Schofield. Call those guys starting out as young freshmen. Took some bumps along the way, and now they're one of the more experienced complement. But they have more than just Williams. Bowen kid, Bowen and Bowen kid. Guys that have played meaningful minutes. So it's an experienced team, and we get the challenge of going and playing at their place. Coming off of a tough overtime loss to LSU. We'll find out more about make about basketball. As I told our guys, I'm not discouraged anyway, because in every game we played, we've been right there. And just got to continue to try to make those plays that convert you into winning. And I think our bench is going to be a big part of it. Our bench has to come in and play at a high level in the first half and even the second half. Enable guys that finish off the game, finish it off strong. I think there's some guys out there playing tired, trying to play through. But again, Tennessee, very good basketball team, playing well. Welcome to the SEC family. Every game, it's a big game. This is another big game on our schedule. It's a great opportunity. Tremendous challenge, but we'll go over there with understanding that they're a good team with good basketball.
Mike, you look at the box from the last time you guys played there a couple of years ago, you don't have anybody left who played in that game. They got a bunch of guys who are freshmen or sophomores now, they're juniors and seniors. Just how tough is that to have such a young team having to play at their place when they're so experienced?
Again, this is new for our guys, have an opportunity to play against one better team at their place. So we'll find out more about our basketball. Let's find out where we are. I think our guys are very physical basketball. We have a match there. This guy shoot at a high percentage. Lead the 16. But that's what we call it. Process. Trust the process.
How different they let me. Williams, he's a junior now. You saw those guys now, they're men. How different. Same players, but a lot different too.
Then welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio on KDSJ 479. We come to each and every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And real quick, we would be remiss without giving a big shout out to our sponsors each and every day, as this would not be possible. Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville and office location 2 in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel is located at 735 South Shiloh Drive. Also, too, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. I want to give a big thank you to all our sponsors, as this would not be possible without you all's belief in us here on OTH. But we came away with, and I apologize for audio and technical issues with Coach Mike Anderson from today's media availability as he previewed tomorrow's big road test versus the third-ranked Tennessee Volunteers, coached by Rick Barnes. This, to me, you're going to find out a lot about this basketball team. It's an adverse situation. Classes have just begun, Demetrius, back today. So you had to start classes. You're coming off 4 home losses. You're coming off a week where you lost 2 home games by 6 points, 1 in overtime. I had a chance to win both games. One of your true freshman brothers left the basketball team and announced his transfer, Jordan Phillips. So all these things have happened within a week's time. You'll find out about yourself because now, like I said, adversity has hit. What this team does this week will speak volumes of how they'll be able to handle the duration of the season. You got a tough one tomorrow. You travel to Knoxville. You come home just for a couple of days of rest and a shower, and then you're off to Oxford, Mississippi to take on that very surprising but yet good basketball team there at Ole Miss. Coached by Kermit Davis, former head coach at Middle Tennessee State. A lot of good things are going on for these two basketball teams in Tennessee and Ole Miss, and you're coming in a little wounded with a young basketball team, Demetrius. To you, how big is this week if you're Mike Anderson and that staff?
It's huge. I keep talking about the fan base. I keep talking about keeping that momentum and those guys on your team. You want them to be that sixth man. So I just feel it's crucial that these guys get that win just for moral sake and a momentum sake. I think they need that win to get back in the groove of things. This is a huge game. I think this to me is going to kind of foreshadow the future of their season, especially when you're talking SEC play.
I mean, you look at the next 4 games. You're at Tennessee. You're at Oxford. You come home. You host a week from this coming Wednesday, the Missouri Tigers. You travel the following Saturday. You're against the Texas Tech Red Raiders, a team that is, tremendously good. If you got a chance earlier in the season to watch how they played the Duke Blue Devils, who I think is a Final Four possible national championship team. And then you come back, you play Georgia. You have to go to Baton Rouge and take on LSU. Then you're here at Vanderbilt, you host Vanderbilt. South Carolina, another surprising team, sitting at 3-0 in the SEC. Then you go to Missouri. That stretch right there, here in the next 6 to 8 games with that non-conference tilt versus a very good Texas Tech team, could be a period to where if it's a bubble team, if you become a bubble team, it's going to make or break you in these coming weeks. So it's very imperative that this team's got to grow up. I know I keep talking about maturation, but they're going to have to grow up in some areas. And some things that I really have liked about this team, Demetrius, is several weeks ago we were talking about Mason Jones being in a slump. Well, since SEC play, Mason has stepped up his play at getting to the free throw line a lot. I mean, if you watch most games, to our listeners and fans, I mean, his point total with just the way he's been more aggressive getting to the rim. Also, too, Daniel Gafford, his numbers are going up, and I think it's a direct correlation to the attention that Isaiah Joe does get with being a good three-point shooter. He's starting to command double teams. Also, too, with the ability of Jalen Harris to get to the rim and, with dribble, drive, kick out, making a lot of his teammates better. He's gotten a scouting report out on him. So what it tells me is Jalen and Isaiah, the respect they've gotten, how you handle the respect is what I think a lot of fans as well as Coach Anderson and that staff are curious to see how these guys respond, because they're going to be highly, highly needed. But like I said, I do think that maybe playing less minutes, I think, will produce more production for everyone on this team, because it's about 9 solid players having to get in a great chemistry, great cohesion to where this basketball team can grow, and it starts tomorrow night. It's going to be very imperative, how they start tomorrow, in the first 5 minutes as to how that game's going to go. But I do think, with the history of this series, it should be a very entertaining ball game.
I know it's still kind of early in the season. We still have a lot of SEC games to play, and I just want to pose a question to you. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we know Mike Anderson. This will be his 5th year straight if he makes it back to the tournament. Am I correct?
I think he's had a lot of basketball. He's played a WNIT.
I'm saying since Qualls, it's been the
this will be third year. Third year. Yes.
Okay. Let's just say he doesn't make that the college basketball. He has to go NIT. Do you take this team to the NIT tournament?
I do. I think with him being so young, you have to remember you have 8 high school teenagers and a guy that is only 2 years removed from high school in Mason Jones. So 9 new players. Well, I should say 8 because you lost Jordan. You're going to need, when you look at it, you're going to need at least 5 of them for the future going forward. So I say the more basketball that these kids can play, the more practice time, it's only going to benefit them. When you can play postseason of any sort, that gives you confidence because say they go on, get to the Final Four of the WNIT, of the NIT, that fuels you for the coming year. That makes you work even harder when that, on that spring break. You get in the gym in the summer, you're in the gym. So I think any type of basketball post-conference season will be good for this basketball team. So, I definitely would, if I'm Coach Anderson and staff, make sure if we are given the opportunity and we're unfortunately left out of the NCAA tournament, the NIT would be something I would definitely want my ball club to be playing in because it also too brands your program in recruiting when you're able to play extended basketball past the season.
Okay. Final question for me. When you look at the season, and to me, these guys have surpassed what I intended them to do from a record standpoint. What is your end of the season prediction as of right now?
They're sitting at 1-2. This basketball team. That's still a hard question because there's still so many unknowns, and to me, this team hadn't formed an identity yet. They're still searching for an identity, and I think that's when you're young. You're 18 to 21, you're searching for an identity, even as a grown individual. So I think this team is growing, and they hadn't decided: are we a dribble drive team? Are we a three-point shooting team? Are we a good rebounding team? Are we a great defensive team? What are we? And once I think they come to the conclusion as a team, I think this team's going to be a better team. I think they can make the NCAA tournament, but they're going to have to steal some wins. They're going to have to beat a Kentucky or a LSU or possibly a Tennessee or an Auburn to get the national respect if they become a bubble team. This team is going to have to prove it on the court to, I think, get the right to make the NCAA tournament. And I think that's just because they're so young, and there's not really, outside of Daniel, who's the one branded player that the NCAA can hone in on. Daniel Gafford's going to sell tickets because of his ability, but, it's still, in my opinion, when you ask me, I think it's still yet to be determined on what type of team is this fastest 40 version in 2018-19 under Coach Anderson.
I would definitely have to agree. The only thing about it is I'm trying to figure out what do these guys have to do to figure out that identity, because we can't afford to lose games trying to find the identity and still have these checkpoint goals of where we're trying to get as a team for this 2019 season. So what is it going to take for these guys to really understand what type of basketball and what type of brand are we going to play this year?
I think understanding, that maybe I might not be a starter. I might have been the big dog. The ball went through me, offense went through me in high school. But maybe that might not be the best role for this team this year. I think that's the hardest thing when you're a true freshman is understanding, what your role is and then accepting it. And when you accept it, go out and perform it to a high level, each and every night out. So I think that's what this team is figuring out, who are going to be your starters. I think they understand, in my opinion, who the 5 stars are going to be, and it's just getting that rotation. Does Reggie come in 6th? Does Keyshawn come in 7th? Is Desi the 6th guy? Or, I think it's just those 4 guys off the bench that they're trying to figure out. Or should Adrio come off the bench? What's going on at that 4th spot? Because I think that's the most crucial. And, to a degree, the point guard. I think they have to get more physical at that point guard spot and put defense first for a moment. Maybe you need to shake up some things, at your guards, and maybe give Jalen and Isaiah a chance to come off the bench, watch the game. Maybe, I think it's a situation you're 3 games in with 15 left. So if you're Coach Anderson, you still have time in the early first 8 games to figure out what's going to best work for this team in conference and going forward for the remainder of the year. But I do think when I look at it, my building blocks is Reggie Chaney and Daniel Gafford are my 4 and 5. And then I'll build, a team. I think right now with the way Mason Jones has played, he's earned the right to just, stay in the starting lineup. But in the conference season, you got to find the best 5. Not the best 5 that played, the best leading up to conference is who's producing, because that's what Coach Anderson has always been, a guy to play on production. And you got to get more at your guard spots. And you just hadn't gotten it in the first 3 games at that position. That's real important. Guard play in the SEC, we know just as well as quarterback play in the SEC, and having good running backs and good line play in football. It's the center part of you being a successful basketball program and a basketball team each and every year, and it will continue to be that way. And I think that's what has to be figured out. Get more physical, and right now get more production at the guard spots.
I think you hit it on the head, And I think another thing added to that is finding more leadership. I still think there's a missing component as far as who's the leader of this team. Yeah, we know Gafford has a name. We know Gafford is the lottery pick or potential lottery pick, but who's the guy when times get rough is going to grab a guy? I know you seen the play where the UCLA player and something happened with his teammate, but he came over and lifted his chin and told him to keep his head up.
Right.
Who's going to be that guy when Arkansas is kind of in that rough mark in the game, is going to kind of take over and really be that leader to really motivate these guys to get those type of dubs? Because as we see in going forward, I can see a lot of close games. I can see us being in those close type battles with the Tennessees. But do we have those guys that can step up within that last minute to 2 minutes and win the game for you?
I think that, like I said, that's the million-dollar question. Will this team eventually get through one of these tight games by hitting free throws or making that last-second bucket or getting that last stop? That's something I think this team's going to have to do to prove to themselves that it can be done. I'm really curious. I think, and I've always felt from the beginning, that Desi Seals could be that vocal guy. I know he's a true freshman, but this team's so young, anybody can be a leader. Nobody's played in the basketball, outside of Daniel Gafford and Adriel Bailey. Nobody, or Gabe Osaborn, and Gabe had limited minutes last year. Anybody, outside those 2 guys, there's a lot of minutes that nobody's played. So the leadership role is still up for grabs. But I think if you had to pick one, I think Desi Seals, to me, I've always liked this kid. From the first day I reffed him, I do officiating on the side. I had a chance to run into Desi as a 4th grader, and he's always had that leadership knack, that vocal knack, to hold his teammates accountable. And I think that's what, in the future, I think as a fan base, you'll see Desi be one of, if not the most vocal leader, one of the top 2 vocal leaders, and a guy that I think is going to command a lot of respect in this program from not only the coaching staff, but his players and this entire state fan base as well. You really have a pleasure to cover and watch Desi's career, because he just has that vocal leader ability that I think. And I also think as time progresses, you may see a Reggie Chaney come into a kind of like, back in the day, Trey Flowers came freshman year, not too vocal. Sophomore year, not too vocal, but then as he spoke, sometimes you can say so less, but the less you say is heard the loudest. I think that's kind of what Reggie has an opportunity to do in his career. But, the future looks really good. Patience is something that I think this fan base for this season will have to, exercise. It's going to be an up and down, peak and valley year, and that's just, I think, really more so attributed to the youthfulness of this team, and they're having to figure it out. And unfortunately, SEC this year with so much maturity, it's not a year to be trying to figure anything out.
Agreed. That's why I'm really trying to figure out what is he going to do, because even when I take on a fan's perspective, these guys are kind of getting impatient with Mike Anderson. And I hate to say this, because even when we can pull out the stats and show these guys this number and keep hollering how he's the 3rd winningest team in SEC, but these fans will not accept losing, and especially losing in the ball walk. So I just hope these guys get it together, because they have so much potential.
Right.
And pieces that they can really build on for the future. But I have to agree totally that the fan base is just going to have to wait from a patient standpoint for basketball and football. And it's going to be so crucial that they do, because if they wait and we do get the pieces, it can be something special.
I agree with you. I think if this fan base will be patient, both on the football side, the men's and women's basketball side, to combine it with a great upstart program there under Coach Deifel and the softball program team. We all know about Dave Van Horn and what he's accomplished and will accomplish, the track programs. But really, when you think baseball, softball, basketball, and football, if this fan base will be patient, I think it will be a journey and a ride that will be one of the most exciting times in Razorback athletic history that they will never forget. But it's going to take time. Chad's going to have to recruit out of his situation on the football side of things. I think Coach Anderson has the right pieces to work with, and just let that group mature, add on in the 19 and 20 classes. Coach Neighbors has brought in a great class and will continue to recruit at a high level, as he's so personable in women's college basketball. I've had a chance to be out on the road with a summer girls team and saw Coach Neighbors and all of his staff members. They're a great people person. And then when you look at Coach Deifel, what she's done in 3 years to take that program from basically an unknown until a national stage, and in 3 years in the Women's College World Series, and just bubbling with excitement, and she feels like this is her best team, and she's going to have some dominant teams going forward. The Arkansas women's softball program is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. They're only going to climb that plateau and be one of the national names, and I just feel that way about all these programs in the direction that they're going, and they have great leaders at the top. They're doing it the right way. Kids are graduating. Arkansas's athletes. We're not talking about bad stuff with these collegiate athletes. They're all going to class. They're being great community individuals here around and about Northwest Arkansas. So, things are looking up. It may not seem it right now, but as we say, all storms never last. The sun will shine in Fayetteville, and when it does, I think it's going to be something that this fan base in Arkansas will be very proud of for all their athletics. Good things are ahead, but patience is the virtue, Demetra. Patience is the virtue. And my favorite word, the maturation process. Let it take place, and everything will be, I think, what you expect it to be. And the expectations, losing in bud, Demetrius, hey, that is to be expected. Fans deserve the right to hold their programs to a high standard, and I don't think any coach on that campus would expect it to be any other way. I think they all accept it and are working daylight to dawn to make sure that they put a product that the state and the fan base will be proud of. But that's going to wrap it up today. We had a great show. Let you hear audio from this past weekend's game from Daniel Gafford, head coach Will Wade of the LSU Tigers, sophomore point guard Tremont Waters, and freshman Najee Reed. Also, too, Coach Anderson. He came on and recapped LSU, and we let you hear our availability with him today, previewing the Tennessee Volunteers upcoming ball game. But that's going to wrap it up. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, office also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive, and Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And if you'd like to sponsor us here on OTH, you can hit us up on my Twitter page, at PatJenkins4. You can hit us up on our Twitter page, On the Hill Sports Talk. Also to our Facebook page, On the Hill Sports Talk as well. And you can also call us, 479-601-7400. We'd love to talk with you if you aspire to be a sponsor of On the Hill. We'd love to be working for you if that can work out. But that's going to do it. Until tomorrow, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one.